I on?
I'm so happy to see a couple who's so happy with each other and still so much in love.
She's a very cool girl.
Very cool girl.
Initially, when I first met Charlie, I really didn't think, that much of him.
Charles isn't that easy.
Not 1 second did they ever have an argument about anything.
Charles looks like he's easy, but deep down, he has a pretty strong opinion about most things.
Well, I call Joan Joni.
You guys have the best relationship.
And I call Charlie Charlie.
Am I on?
Yeah.
I'm on.
There's a harbor gonna sail to someday on the tail of an east wind someday, and I'll be home.
So this is 2857, where we were all born and spent our early years. 2857. The Kaplans lived over there in that apartment, and we lived on the other side in the back. Yeah, used to ride around the circle in that my bike. Boy, I went around it a million times. By the way, you can go around counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. Don't try to go around clockwise, you'll fall over. In the wintertime, the snow used to lay this whole neighborhood in. And when you saw a car like weaving down, swiggling down the center of the road, sort of straight and sort of back and forth, coming down Cedric Avenue, you knew it was my father. That's the reservoir. And here's where we all used to park the cars. I remember one day Charles left my dad a note that said the car is in the reservoir. He didn't think that was funny. Okay, so this is the wall where we used to pile up all the leaves, and this is the wall I believe Charles fell off and smacked his mouth, and he whistles to the side.
And this is Charles's wife.
When Missy came home from service, we moved to Flushing. Joan was 7, and Billy was 2. And that was quite a move for us from a one-bedroom apartment to a house in Flushing. Oh, a very big down payment. Veterans, $5. That was all you had to put down. The house itself was $12,225, and the $225 was for the extra bathroom that we had put in. And it was a nice neighborhood to bring children up in. If you ran away from home, you came and you got in the middle of the night, opened up the window, and got into Joan's room. In the morning, there you were. Izzy used to come home at 4 in the morning, close up the bar, and bring home bagels for everybody. She wasn't difficult. She just did a lot of things.
How could two people from such different worlds find one life together? We gathered a panel of medical experts.
I think it's because Charlie has a lot of heart.
He's got a good heart.
He has a good heart.
I think the secret is poverty.
At the beginning, all the time.
This is how an old divorced Jewish guy would look, with a lot of calcium and fatty emboli and a complicated plaque. I think his coronaries are quite clear.
I don't think they expected the success that your dad had. I mean, they weren't greedy people, and they didn't anticipate that. So all that's gravy. I mean, your mom and dad have not changed in all these years.
Mutual respect,
Mutual respect.
Just very good marriage. 2 really, really committed people who have a lot of respect for each other.
He's silent in the bedroom, and oftentimes, if somebody a little snore in the bedroom.
And I I think your mother's sense of humor. I think your mother, you know, she's got a terrific sense of humor. I wish she'd have the confidence to sit down and write it. She's a funny lady.
We were in class together in the 6th grade, PS 86, Bronx, New York. Walter and Molly were the sweetest of all the parents. There were some parents that we were scared of, but not Walter and Molly. All the kids used to go to his house so he could play Malagueña for us. And we were all flipped out that any kid that young could play Malagueña that good.
Way back when, I think it was either 5th or 6th grade that we dated, and she was a pretty wild woman. Now remember, Joan, you could have been dripping in diamonds today instead of just having publishing rights. You made a mistake.
You can only talk about Malagueña. Charles can play the hell out of Malagueña. And also Concerto in a Mall.
I remember 45 years ago we were sneaking to drive-in movies in the trunk of a car with Arnie and Lynn. And I also remember going up in the roller coaster with you guys at Coney Island. And you guys were moving that car back and forth, and I don't think I've ever gone on a Wonder Wheel again in my life, you know.
Charles a fini ses études en 1958 et il a décidé d'étudier à Paris la composition avec Madame Boulanger.
I applied to study at Fontainebleau with Mademoiselle Boulanger.
Mademoiselle Boulanger adorait le morceau Malagueña. Très souvent,
Mademoiselle was a great lover of the piece Malagueña.
Ce morceau. Même Quincy jouait ce morceau pour
Michel
elle.
Legrand would play it for her.
Mais la vérité, c'est que personne ne pouvait jouer ce morceau comme Charles. Alors, Mademoiselle Boulanger lui demandait de jouer pour elle. Elle s'asseyait, elle était presque en transe et elle écoutait encore et encore ce morceau plusieurs fois finalement.
Joan and two of her girlfriends, after they graduated high school, got jobs up at the Laurel. They were counselors, camp counselors. I don't think they did too well at their job. All they were up there was to have fun.
To the summer of 1962, to the Catskill Mountains of New York, affectionately referred to as the Yiddish Alps, and to Sackett Lake and the Laurels Country Club.
And the Arvito band needed a piano player. I was desperate and I called Paris, where Charles was off for the summer in his studies with Madame Boulanger. And I convinced Charles somehow to leave Paris and come to beautiful Sackett Lake and play piano in my band. For, I believe it was $90 a week plus room and board.
Joan and Ray came up that same summer to work as children's counselors. Children's counselors in those days kept the kids busy during the day and did night patrol at night to check their rooms to make sure the kids were all right. The Laurels Country was really a place for singles. They didn't have a hell of a lot to do, and that's how Charlie and I met Joan and Ray.
So here we are, about to go down the road to Sackett Lake. A road far less traveled than it was 41 years ago when an unsuspecting Joan was about to meet her man.
Charles and the band leader were sitting by the pool and looking at Joan walking back and forth, and the band leader said to Charles, "If you don't jump on it, I will."
She was one of the prettiest girls at Laurel's, and Charles liked her right away but was very shy in approaching her, and I kept pushing him, and finally I said, "Charles, if you don't speak to her, I'm gonna make the move." And he got up the nerve to speak with Joan and
Told me he met this girl and telling me all the wonderful things about her, and then had this smile that Charles has and said, "And she's so beautiful."
He used to come with his nice little white car, and Johnny would run right out.
Little old piano player come around.
The little old piano player?
To see the girl next door.
He was playing with a Latin band when he was dating Joan, Then Joan and her girlfriends used to go out there. He played in a place out on Long Island. I think it was called the Magic Touch. And they would go out there and listen to him play and dance.
Ray and I fell in love that summer, and I think the seeds were planted for Joan and Charlie as well.
Am I on?
Remember when she came in and said she was engaged? And I said, "Where's your ring?" She got a watch. Very pretty watch. It was a beautiful wedding. It was in a brand new catering hall. It was the second week that they were open. The acoustics were still not exactly right, so you could hear a little bit of the music, and the other, there were 2 or 3 weddings at the same time.
It's 40 years already. I remember the day you got married. And here's Barbara was your flower girl. And just a bit of a fact, Dennis and I just celebrated our 25th anniversary. So your little flower girl is married 25 years already.
She was gorgeous. She was absolutely beautiful. The band was kind of a pickup band of all of Charlie's friends, you know. It was no regular band that played together. And I don't think that they played weddings and bar mitzvahs. But everybody danced, everybody had a good time. She got a watch. Very pretty watch.
40 years ago, or once upon a time, a counselor in a children's day camp and a piano player with a ruffled shirt, 2 people with absolutely nothing in their future meet in the Catskill Mountains, fall in love, and get married in Leonard's of Gitnick, where they serve their guests a lovely dinner of salad Joan and mystery meat. And when a marriage like that lasts 40 years,
And I remember the day that you and Charlie were married and came out of that house right across the way.
I remember seeing you off on your honeymoon on the SS France. It was the first time I had ever been on a boat that size, and it was pretty overwhelming.
Where you lived when we first met you, and this is where Charlie got in trouble for practicing too much.
Hey, shut up!
Nobody likes musicians,
Sorry.
but they should only know all the great songs that you wrote. Charles?
Things were rough, really. That's why when people say, well, you know, he's doing very well, people don't know that they struggled. They really had it tough in the beginning. They had a baby right away. They had an apartment that they had to keep, you know, and it was not easy for them.
For a writer in a very difficult field where there's as much rejection as approval, maybe more rejection than approval, you really need support. You really need someone there who believes in you when the time comes that when things are not going so well, you start to wonder whether maybe your belief in yourself is all wrong. Charlie has that with Joan, and I think it makes a great difference in a writer's life.
Charles worked late nights to keep food on the table, and at best, the food was sparse. But at night, he would sleep and dream of a day where he would be able to walk into any restaurant in town and order as he pleased.
Where do you sit? What, do you like a booth or? Yeah, let's see what the specials are. We got the vegetable omelet,
And oh, look at that. Joan and Charlie's 40th anniversary Spanish omelet. That was nice of you to do that for my parents, Roman.
Anytime. For Charlie, anytime.
We need a big booth because Charlie orders fruit, coleslaw, his main course, sour pickles, coffee. Water and orange juice with a side of ice.
Mutual feelings about music and love and family and kids and everything in life, including a corned beef sandwich.
Lemon chicken, Joan's lemon chicken. Oh my God.
This looked pretty good. Would Charlie be happy with that omelet,
No,
Steve?
no.
Why?
The omelet would go back.
Why?
Why would the omelet go back?
Yeah.
There's not enough sauce. And it's not big enough.
It's not big enough?
Yeah,
Not enough eggs?
Charlie pays extra to get big omelets. Big omelets.
Okay.
See, he even knows that.
To see them sitting there in the synagogue or in the deli, whichever makes them happiest at the moment.
They're a delicious, wonderful recipe.
They're going to be having a Spanish omelet and a plate and a bagel and whatever is on the table. After looking at the plate and taking a bite, Charlie has to drop, go back to the kitchen. Can I have a little bit more sauce? Sure.
And through all these 35 years, lots of meals, which Joan, fortunately, remembers each and every one.
It wouldn't be Charlie if he would not get up and ask for more sauce.
But until those days came, he had to rely on the good fun that he and his friends could have together.
I can still see Ray and Joan with the carriages, those Cadillac-style carriages that they took the kids around in.
We've been through a lot together. You've always been there for us, and we'll always be there for you.
And so it happened that the DeSios and the Michaels thought we should meet Joan and Charlie Fox.
I was recommended by a mutual friend of ours named Jack Michaels, who Charlie was looking for a pianist, someone who could play rock and roll and classical music
To do
this
this
project
album.
with Crewe.
I know it was 1966, and I know it was at Cyrus's house. I remember it was hot, and I have no idea why I stopped in. Maybe it was to drop something off, who knows. She introduced me to her friend, her pregnant friend, Joan Fox. You were due in February, and I was due in October. I'm sure I was much bigger than you. You were just taller.
We've been through a lot of good times together. We tested a lot of air in restaurants. We found out how a lot of chickens were prepared.
It seems to me you had some time to kill before picking up Robbie from school, and you didn't feel like driving back to Far Rockaway. And as Iris is always saying to the immediate world, stop in any time, you stopped. I remember thinking, this is someone who I would like to get together with. Now I would say, with whom?
And I remember Charlie was the first one on the block with a Moog.
While the four of us didn't become friends immediately, it may have been about a year when the four of us finally got together. Our friendship became so important that after 35 years, it's still grown strong.
Charlie and Joan, I should say. But I'm looking up on the street at Namioke, right across the street from 1011 Namioke, and I'm checking out the window to see if anybody could see Joan when she's in a nightgown. Remember when you used to do that? And remember when we used to make onion pizzas here, and we had such a good time. And David's Briss was here, our godson.
One day, I had a call from a fellow named Bob Crewe. And Bob Crewe was one of the big record producers, songwriters of that period. And we had worked on an album together, and he had asked me if I would join him and work on this film, co-write the songs, and do the score. And actually, it really led directly to my being invited to come to Hollywood.
Charlie's got the goods, he always did have. And our good mutual friend Harriet Wasser brought us together. In those days, I based an awful lot of my connecting on astrology. Anyway, Charlie came up with a great chart. He had a dazzling chart. I gravitated myself always towards very talented musicians, people who really, really had a grasp on their craft. And certainly Charlie did. Charlie had, and still does, one of the best
He's one of the best in the world.
This is the house in Woodmere on Barnard and West Broadway where Lisa was born.
God, we met in 1967, that's 35 years ago, so they were 5 years married. We had just done the incident, and then I went off and did Goodbye Columbus, and he came out here and did the score. He could tell you stories about what the hell was the name of that group that sang with
The Association.
Oh my God, but Charlie had to go into they would never come out of the recording stage, and Charlie would go in and grab the music and the tapes and say, let me have them and pull them out, otherwise we never finished the music today.
Then, of course, Joan and Charlie moved out to Los Angeles.
When he came out to California, he came out on his first movie, and I came out after him with the Merv Griffin show.
Charlie, I met you before I met Joni. That's when you were coming out, obviously, back in the late 60s to do Boogaloos, I think.
And little did I know that Ray and I would be moving out to San Diego.
You saying, well, my wife gets out here, we'll have to get together and you'll have to play tennis and blah, blah, blah.
Charlie's career was moving forward, and they had to move where the do-re-mi was.
I don't think we ever played tennis together, but that's okay.
We moved to California in 1970, but in the year before that, Dad would come out, and right there, that was the Fountain View West Hotel. Dad would live here for a month, 2 months at a time, and he was up there somewhere in that tower, up there. Any memory of Charlie Fox being here, sir? No? 1970, no? Dad was working all the time. He had a show after show, and we didn't know that many people here, and we were bored. We were in the house. We used to go to this. She used to take us on this pony ride all the time. These geese, these horrible geese. She would take us to Universal Studios, where we would go. We would take Nana, and we went there so many times. We got to know all the characters. They would take us home to dinner with their families. But I know she had a little relief from the grandparents and uncles. But really, other than that, sometimes we had terrible babysitters. And one clown fellow was, he was inexpensive. But and then luckily, they got to make some friends out here and kind of feel settled.
We were actually friends of Charlie's cousin, Stan Rubenstein, and Joel. And they put us together when we moved out here in 1970.
Charlie's dad and my grandmother were brother and sister. Uncle Walter was my grandma's baby brother. And from my earliest recollection, Uncle Walter's coming in. The good news was he was going to bring his mandolin. We really enjoyed Uncle Walter with the mandolin, so I understand the musical heritage.
Your parents, we went out with the wheels, and we all thought we were going deaf because your father spoke so quietly that no one could hear a thing.
I met you guys right when you came out here.
Yeah,
So
and
I can't believe it's been so long.
Well, the first time Ruth Ann and Stan came to visit while we moved out here, they said we want to go visit Charlie. I think Charlie had just gotten his first Emmy for. We had to meet.
We like stars.
We had to meet showbiz people.
We were moving on up. We were definitely moving on up. We were moved to Cove Way here behind the Beverly Hills Hotel. We're in one of these houses up here. My fondest memory of this is the great mime Marcel Marceau came and stayed with us for about 16 weeks. He used to come in the house late at night. Used to come upstairs and do the box trick. Where the mime pretends he's in a box there. We used to come down here, and Marcel was staying in the guest house down there, and he used to come down to visit us. In the 70s, we moved to the Valley, and this ends up being the most significant time for our family, because really, in 1969, Lisa's not born yet, and in 1981, I'm off to, a string of colleges. So the 70s is the only time that we ever all lived together, and it was a great time, and it was a great place to share a great time.
Here we are at Lanai Road School,
which is where all of our kids went.
All 10 of your kids went to the school, huh?
Everybody went to the school, Lanai Road School. Walking distance from our houses. A neighborhood school. What a nice thing.
Here we we are at Gelson's, where we've spent many years being together, running into each other, doing our neighborhood shopping for the Jewish holidays that we continue to spend together.
L&S Cleaners, this is the robber cleaner.
This is the robber cleaner that Mr. Charles Fox will not allow Joan to use.
We only go to this cleaners for our very special clothes because they're a little pricey, but they're very excellent. So,
Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear Charlie and Joan. Happy anniversary to you. First time I met him, Norman brought me over to the house and had me singing. And Charlie was really tough. He was not at all impressed with the way I was singing at all. I remember I was singing, it's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. Anyway, Charlie said, that's very nice. And just before I was to go, because he was auditioning some singers, he said, well, let's just put something on tape. And so on tape, you just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. And after he recorded it, he listened to it, and he actually liked what he heard on tape. So then we started working, and he gave me some incredible songs to sing, like There's a Harbor.
Is after the first Lori Lieberman album, and you guys came over and you were nominated for a Grammy for Killing Me Softly, and you refused to tell us, and it was taped, and we were watching it as though it was happening about 8 o'clock at night, and you won the Grammy, and we didn't know, and you wouldn't tell us, and that was something.
Inspiration to me for becoming a songwriter was watching Charles on the win the Grammy when I was like 10 or 11 years old for the best song of the year. And I wanted to be a songwriter, but I have to say it was a little misleading because I haven't won a Grammy. I thought it was so easy. I'm like, oh, you just write a song.
I want to thank you, Charlie, for the time that you took us all to the studio so that we could sing background for Lori's song on the album you were making.
We worked for Lori Lieberman. We have photographs of us in the recording studio.
That's right. That was cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah, that album. That's right. That's all you guys going. Do you remember how that went?
Well, we had a lot of fun.
La 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 la. Da 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 da. One verse. La 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 la. Yeah.
Those were the days, Charlie. Oh my God.
Tell us about Mammoth. Oh my God, the best. The best. We used to come up right after Christmas and stay through New Year's.
Those times will always be remembered as some of the best years of my life.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Fox. Welcome back to the Dell. How are you?
I had an awesome childhood.
I just loved being in your house. Your house to me was just the perfect home.
But New Year's, it started at Whiskey Creek where Britt threw $20 to Iris to play the bill, and the money went candle and a fire, and oh my God, and all those parties at Iris's.
And Charlie called in and said, "You want to come out Red Happy Days?" And I said,
So Mrs. Fox, I see you again.
Those were some of the best memories I have growing up.
We had a lot of fun musically, and that's when I first met Charlie, and then met Joni, and then the kids, and watched them grow and all that good stuff, which that comes later. But
So then said, right now,
I just thought you guys were really cool to let us, to let everyone go up there, and now that I'm older, and I look back at all the things we did up there, I realize just how cool you really were.
Welcome back, Mr. and Mrs. Fox. Happy 40th anniversary.
Really busy days, and days of big orchestras, real orchestras, and a lot of good times.
This is how we met, guys. Up in Mammoth, 1974, I think. And we started because we were so young and lovely. We could really ski a lot. This was our first sport together.
Mr. and Mrs. Fox.
But it was such a fabulous time. We were so lucky to have those skiing trips, those years of and that's when we met all the other Coopers, the Blums, Steve and I did.
Since that time, the Coopers and the Foxes and the Blums, now Feldman, we're just tight as can be. We're like all one family, like they're our extended family.
Oh, Joan and I were on a pro bowling team, a pro bowling team, a socialization in LA.
We had a great time. We had lots of foul play in the industry. We had lots of happy days.
I remember those tennis tournaments so fondly. I loved especially the awards that I won. But those were...
Fully enough, the next year, Charlie called me and said, you know, they're still looking for someone. Do you want to come out? And at that point, we said, yeah. No.
And it was just a great special time in our lives, and we always remember.
In the final summer of the 1970s, I got my driver's license. My parents weren't happy about it, but what could they do? But hope that I had good common sense and good steering ability. My father told me before I headed off for my first parentless ride, he said, son, I hope I've set a very good example for you. Make sure it fits, and here's the gotta get some batteries. Lisa, try it on. Get the helmet. Let's keep that. I want these helmets. Let's test the batteries, guys. Okay, and oh, Robbie, don't be a wise guy. Where's your helmet that I got you for the earthquake? Where's your earthquake helmet? Dad, I'm starving. Quiet down, quiet down. I'm sure this place will be fine. To go also on a Dr. Brown. Anybody want anything? A water, maybe water with ice, some ice on the side, a cappuccino with 2 shots, a latte. Danielle, anyone? Joan? David, and maybe a Diet Coke, one with ice, one not with ice. Like cappuccino, Dr. Pepper, Dr. Brown soda, Sprite, maybe a celery. And then caffeinated, one without caffeine, a Dr. Brown, Pepper, Diet, regular, straight, and a Sprite. Anyone? What kind of water do you have? Pellegrino, maybe water would be great. Okay, I think that's everything. I'll give it back. Thank you.
The four of us have spent so many hours talking, laughing, disagreeing. Actually, that's Charlie and Alvin's job. We have shared so much good stuff, not such good stuff, funny stuff, oh, lots of funny stuff. We have quelled from our children's successes and consoled each other through their sadnesses. We've even cared for each other's children when the necessity arose. I have watched your children grow, and they are very dear to my heart. We've experienced grandchildren, 10 of them, all brilliant naturally. And to think it's only been 35 years. I can't imagine my life without our friendship. And thank you, Iris, for that. I can't wait for the next 35 years. It's been a great ride so far. Have the happiest abba-dabba honeymoon. And Charlie, I must tell you, I love your music. I just hated your Ferrari. I love you both.
Just let her
To
sing.
you,
Listen.
Avenue to you, Avenue you live, Avenue right you.
Yay! February 1980. My bar mitzvah. I had 2 bar mitzvahs. One at Stephen S. Weiss Temple, for which Cantor Lamb trained me.
For our second aliyah, I'd like to call on Robert Fox, brother of the bar mitzvah.
When you and David started to laugh at your sister's bat mitzvah, it was the most hilarious thing.
I asked you for one thing, a great aliyah, with all that you had, and you messed it up.
Joy and I just looked at each other, and we knew that you both couldn't contain each other. And your mom was so angry. I think that if she could have, with her look at you, she could have just flipped both of you over her knees and smacked you both.
There, I feel a lot better that I said it.
David's second bar mitzvah was later that year at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. We not only got to meet all of Bobby's old relatives from Yavneh and Rosh Pina there, but a host of relatives from America had come over as well.
And Cyrus, Bobby, Nina,
and
the guy who looks like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, and his kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Dad, I might as well tell you now, my hope is that you did such a great last time, you could take us all again for Josh's bar mitzvah. Everything.
I always wait, as I told you on the way here to the chapel, to see your grandmother. She always comes up to me afterwards and says a few words in Hebrew, which always makes sure that I know that it's the High Holy Days. And a sense of continuity. And they were chalutzim, they were pioneers. And so your father has, a lot of his feelings are hooked into that. Then even it's like through DNA.
Yes.
Love of Israel and the Jewish people.
Charlie and Joan, I imagine you can't believe that it's been 40 years, but when you look at everything that has happened in those 40 years and all of the journeys of loving each other and the journeys of raising wonderful, wonderful kids, that journey relates to my own in some ways and of this congregation, because a lot of the important moments are moments that we've had the joy of sharing, bar mitzvahs and weddings and many, many, many joys. Part of what you've given to us is not just your music, Charlie, which enhances our High Holy Days absolutely every year, but also something of the music that the two of you make together.
I had been 9 years with the IRS at that point, and when I saw the whole Israel trip, 3 weeks for traveling around Israel to find a piano teacher for his kid, and I didn't buy it really for a second.
They're honest people.
Yeah.
And they don't have this let's screw the government attitude. Someone's got to pay for the missiles, and they're willing to do it.
Yeah. Missiles, I don't know. I didn't buy it.
We were all lucky with the studio, and we were very happy with it. When it first started, it was very successful, and it usually, and as a matter of fact, it really was successful afterwards too.
Listen, it was an interesting experience. It was a learning experience.
He needed a studio, your dad and Artie,
Yeah.
to service their own needs.
Yeah.
And in that respect,
Yeah.
it served a purpose.
Unfortunately, when the Musicians Union had a strike, that's what really hurt us very badly.
I didn't want to learn anything for all that money. I would rather have learned nothing and kept the money.
The problem was that their timing wasn't great because shortly after they bought the studio, all the innovations came out, the Sinclair and the Fairchild.
But we got to be friends, and something good came out of it.
Yeah. Timing wasn't great.
Yeah.
It would have been better if we hated each other, Charlie. We would have had money.
When is timing ever good?
Yeah. By 1984, David and I had both moved out of the house, and that's generally when parents just try to size it down a little less land, some fewer bedrooms. They, on the other hand, moved to 4601 Van Alden, a 6-acre farm with horses and pigs, just Mom, Dad, Lisa, and Loopy. You know, we were all starting to find our way in the world. David had begun to have success in real estate, building apartment buildings. I started to write movies, and Auntie Lisa became the first graduate, college graduate and law school graduate in the history of the Fox family, and started prosecuting cases. And, you know, Grandma and Grandpa were happy for us, but they were a little sad at one point. I know they experimented with some exchange students just to get some noise back in the house, but I think they were from the wrong country or something. But here we are, 5057 Woodley Avenue. Joan and Charles moved to this house in 1987. The house was designed by master builder Tom Blackwell, who had built their previous house, and he felt the reason for the warmth of the house was... I know it's a cohesive unit.
I don't care who's holding me tight, as long as it's you. I don't care who's flying my kite, as long as it's you. I don't care who's making me crazy, picking petals off the daisies, just as long as when she's done, it turns out that I'm the one. You occupy yourself and devote your every thought to. I don't care who's rowing my boat, as long as it's you. I don't care who's catching my frisbee, I just want to ask myself if she's somebody I'd like to see. Exactly half of you and me. Who cares who that girl might be? As long as it's you, as long as it's you, as long as it's me.
I remember Joan and Charlie came into Levenstein the first time. No, they went to buy something, and I remember taking their credit card, and I knew who they were, but I didn't say one word.
Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you.
Wait, we have to get the center.
They said, "Who is this man?" And I said, "He's my daughter's boyfriend's father." I didn't know then that he was going to be my daughter's father-in-law.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, la 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 la, happy anniversary, la 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 la, happy anniversary.
I was very pleased to introduce him as my daughter's boyfriend's father, because we like David very much.
Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary from
Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you.
Yay.
That was December 30th, 1993. And out my boy came. Josh, greatest day of my life.
In the next few years, these two guys were born, Olivia and Jack, and I know for their grandparents, of all the things that have happened in the years, and there have been many, many, many occasions, events, shows, and all that. These three have been the greatest part of their life. 3 and counting.
Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary! We love you so much! It's
Happy
the best Christmas ever! And happy 40th anniversary!
Happy 40th anniversary!
And you smell like one too.
How can you smell like an anniversary?
Happy 40th anniversary! This candle is for you!
There's a harbor gonna sail to.
Very good marrying. Good choice. Let's stick to it,
On the tail of an
What a romantic couple you are.
But she was always a member of the family, right from jump.
I love you. We miss you guys. We wish we were with you.
Like my grandmother said, Sein Glück, mit Mazel, mit lange Jahren. Good luck, wonderful things, and long years.
Wish you many, many more years of happiness, and we're glad to be able to talk to you.
It's always going to be Charlie now, as far as I'm concerned.
If everybody had the same kind of life that you guys have, it would be a very, very terrific world we live in.
I treasure your friendship and the collaboration that we've had together, and I love you both very much.
A very warm and natural way about them that makes me feel that I was there for them first, and God bless them all
I love their marriage. I've watched them and admired them, the way they treat each other and the way they take care of their family and their kids. And
40 wonderful years. And Joan, I wonder if the key to that was really good ironing at the beginning.
Happy anniversary, Mr. Joe and Mr. Fox.
Wonderful milestone, and for dear friends.
Joni makes me laugh.
I mean, the woman knows how to put on a party and to make everyone feel so incredibly welcome and important, and she's just one of my favorite people in this world. So beautiful.
In your honor, Joni, I'm holding my racket in my left hand.
Joan and Charles are the most ideal, beautiful couple. They're as if they're one.
I love you both. See you soon, I hope.
When you see them together, that's the best.
Always interested in talking about my family as well as your family.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Bye.
Charlie is one of the great composers of my time. And I've never worked with anybody where it was so much fun and so much enjoyable.
Dear Joan and Charlie! Happy anniversary! And it's great. Got some great games, and happy anniversary to you.
Good man. He's a good man. That's all I have to say. I actually think that Charlie started at BMI 40 years ago. There's an interesting parallel there between, I think, getting together with Joan and BMI.
And we just want to wish you again happy 40th. Bye.
Happy anniversary to you. We love you.
He said, seeing Joan dressed the way she did back in the 50s made me fall in love with her all over again. And it was so sweet. It was the sweetest thing. And
So, I don't know how to get to 40 years, but I know that if you get there, it's just all worthwhile, and it's really good. That's it.